Welcome back to Mommy Rebellion, where I've been having chats with all kinds of moms during this pandemic. And because I never remember to say this at the end, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to know when more interviews are coming out. And hint, hint, my children are going to be coming out. They've got some very special interviews coming out that we're going to do over the holiday period. So, if you'd like to hear what my children unscripted think about, their baby sister, you're going to want to hit that subscribe button. Today, I am joined with the amazing Nikki Starcat Shields. She's an author, a book midwife, and a leader of transformational writing retreats. And she actually helped me write my Mommy Rebellion book. So if you've read that, she's kind of half responsible for it. Hi, Nikki.
Hi, good to be here.
It's so great to have you here. So this is one in the series of how 2020 is not just a dumpster fire that we should burn. That there have been a few good things here and there amongst this year.
Yeah,
So
there have.
yeah. So how have things been going in your neck of the woods?
I mean, it's been as weird and chaotic here as everybody has had, but the biggest silver lining for us is that my daughter, so I have two grown children, and my son, who's the oldest, lives in the next town over, so he's close by. But my daughter had been living out in Colorado. I'm in Maine. She'd been living out in Colorado. And so that was really hard, having her away, although it was a great experience for her. But she had scheduled to get married this year,
Mhm.
of all years, right?
Yep.
Um, and so they had their special date that they wanted to get married on, which was their anniversary of they've known each other since they were 12 and they're now
Yep.
21, well, almost 22 at this point. But so their special date when they started dating was March 13th, and it was
Mhm.
also Friday the 13th this
Yep.
year. So that was going to be, but getting married in Maine in March, it's not beautiful. It's muddy, it's snowy, it's crazy. So that was just going to be a little small family wedding. And then
Yep.
they were going to, in October of this year, have a big wedding where the extended family could come
Yep.
and it would be outdoors and pretty and so forth. Well, what ended up happening was they ended up coming here March, maybe 8th or something. And we're
Yeah.
kind of getting ready for the wedding. And her husband's immediate family came out from Colorado too. And so we gathered, like, there were like 25 of us, I think. So we had a wedding in a Grange Hall on the 13th. It was really beautiful. It was steampunk themed. So we
Yep.
decorated and made stuff, and it was really, really fun. And then that was when, like, everything shut down.
Yeah, because like the lockdown for
Everything.
schools here in
The
Maine is like the
lockdown.
16th. So it was like
Yeah,
that
it was
Monday, everything shut
yeah.
down. Yeah.
So their plan had been to go back out to Colorado and work a few more months and save
Mhm.
some more money and then move here, and live here.
Yep.
And so they ended up not so her husband's family did get a flight back. They
Oh,
could get
good.
back because they had to go to work and school and whatnot.
Yep.
But Bridget and her husband ended up staying and just moving here now. So that's been so awesome to have them around.
Yeah.
We have some family land that we live on, so they're going to actually build a place here, in the big picture. So they're like on the land already. They're living in a big camper, like a
Yep.
giant camper kind of thing for now until they build their home. And yeah, it's just been so good. That's the
Yeah.
biggest lining. Yeah.
Yeah. I know one of the hard things for us this year is my mom was here before my youngest was born and for a little bit afterward and had she left March 10th was when
Uh,
she went home. And normally, in a normal year, she would have come up this fall to visit all the kids. And of course, that's not happening. Partially, I think, there's COVID, but she's also in Ohio, which has been like red for months and months and months.
yeah.
Whereas here in Maine, we've been green. And then, like, one of the counties where all my kids go to Girl Scouts has been yellow for the past couple weeks. So they've all
Yeah.
been virtual. And the silver lining to that is I don't have to drive as much. I just have to
Yeah.
type kids into Zoom. So that's been kind
Yeah.
of nice. The exciting news that we just found out. So my husband was on paternity leave when lockdown happened. He his paternity leave started on the 9th of March.
Mhm.
And so then lockdown was like the week after. So he went back to work in April from home. And we knew that he was going to be staying home. First, it was, till the day after Labor Day, and then they extended it to the end of the year. And now they've just extended it to next summer. So the silver lining
Oh,
for us is all the extra time he's gotten to have with the kids because
yeah.
he's home.
Oh, that's cool.
And I no longer have an office, so
So he's got the
that's
office,
been a
yeah.
little well, yeah, because
Yeah.
he's gotta sometimes get on the phones with people and stuff. So yeah, he has
Yeah.
the office, but that's kind of been one of the major silver linings here, other than just having a little one to just sink into the moment. Like, I find like it's a lot when you have someone small who is waking up every day and doing something new and different. You can't get too involved in the crazy all the time because you might miss the stage with her. So,
I love that. I love that. It's been so we couldn't have the October big
right.
wedding, party thing.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of postponed indefinitely. And the hard thing is, I mean, I want to tell people, you're always a mom. Like even though
Hmm.
I'm not actively parenting because they're grown, it's like you're always a mom and you're always like there for them. And then at a certain point you become like a caregiver for your elders as well. So
Hmm.
we have had some issues with trying to keep it's really hard, we want to keep them safe from getting sick, but and I have people in my household. My brother lives with us and goes out to work. So I have people going out into the outside
Yep.
world and just protecting the elders. But they've also had some issues, some falls, some things broken in their bodies this year. So it's been a dance
That
of, helping, but not like potentially like giving them any sickness, which we have, knock
yeah.
on wood, we've been healthy, but oh man, that's kind of a challenge. Yeah.
Well, and I think the scariest thing about this pandemic is that you could have it and be spreading it and not know it yet,
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
or not ever know it because not everybody has symptoms that they notice. So I think that can be really hard. Um, I know one of the ways that I'm trying to make life a little bit more fun is we're getting some like Christmassy masks. So like you could look like Frosty the Snowman or have a Santa beard or, I didn't do anything for Halloween because I was not that together, but I thought, we should have some fun in December. Not that I think we're
Yeah.
going to go out much and need them, but,
Yeah, that's fun, and some people have been putting up their Christmas lights early and things like that, and someone was
yeah,
complaining about it, and I was like, "Oh, no, no, just let people have their joy, like, whatever, like, this year's weird, like, if you wanna put up
yeah.
Christmas lights in late October, do it."
So my kids, we've been getting a live tree the past few years, and but we've had artificial trees before. We've done it like both ways, and we've got wreath stuff. So we're gonna make our own wreaths this year. But my husband and I were at a hardware store because we needed to get something. That's how we're coping. We're doing projects, and there was a tree that was fairly small because we've only got space for about a 5-foot tree because it needs to be up on a table to keep it safe from the baby, and they had an
Mhm.
artificial one for pretty cheap. So we just bought it for the kids. We had like one kid with us. Um, so she picked out and we brought it home and they put it up that night. Like
Nice.
it was pre-lit. They put it up. They got just their boxes of ornaments. They decorated it and it was done. And they've been
Yeah,
ridiculously happy about it ever since. It's got
yeah.
like a slow fade where it'll go from white and then
Oh.
fade off and then go to multicolor and then fade
Oh,
off, and they'll turn that on when because the changing table's right next to it. They'll turn that on when we're changing mid, and they call it
oh,
Christmas TV because she just watches the lights on. And, like she's that age where it's really cool.
yeah.
Um, so that's been going on. We only just recently this week broke out the Christmas music, which is unusual. My kids usually stop breaking that out in September, and I gave up years ago, like whatever. But we've
Yeah.
had to make like a new playlist for this year. The neighbors have outdoor lights on. The kids are like, "Oh, we should do that." I'm like, "Only if we can find solo ones." Like, I don't pay to light electric lights outside.
Yeah.
I'm like, if we can find some more solo ones, absolutely, we can put stuff up. But I'm kind of like
Just
whatever whatever makes them happy. And
Hey, here's another cat visitor.
oh, you, yeah, mine
Percy.
fell asleep in the
Percy.
back there. Okay.
That's Percy. All
And
right.
then one of the things that I'm doing in December is I'm trying to find different things that make me ridiculously happy
Yeah.
for the month of December. So my kids, last year we discovered Target had these 15 days of socks advent calendars for like
Ooh.
$15. And my kids all needed new socks. So I was like, fine, pick your thing. We'll get that. They like figured out that they started opening on the 11th. They could still open one on Christmas. And so like they like plotted it all out and they had the most fun. And so this year, I think it was like August, they were like, can we do that again? Can we do that again? So I was like, okay, cool. Um, but the Mandalorians come out. So I have Mandalorian socks for my
Oh,
15
that's so
days.
cool.
And
That's
then
so
when
cool.
we were in Target the other day, they didn't have very many for men when we originally ordered, but they do now. And so we have Merry Sithmas from my husband.
Oh, awesome. Oh, I love that.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so that's just like one of the things that we're, that we're doing. I'm like, it's gonna be crazy. Like regardless, there are things that can't change right this moment. So, and and it's going into the dark time of the year, it's getting dark early, so one should have things to make oneself ridiculously happy.
Yeah. Well, when you first contacted me about chatting, like one of the things we were going to talk about, like, is how I've pivoted with my business during the
Yeah.
pandemic. And actually, like, I was kind of set up when this started to really like this business to blossom. And actually,
Hmm.
it has, because if you think
Yeah.
about it, if people haven't lost their income, so that's
Hmm.
a thing some have, but
Yeah.
if you haven't lost your income, you do have more time. You're not commuting, you're not going out to all these events. And so people have been really kind of diving into writing their book. So I've had people come to
Good.
me to get support for that. And I started something with the pandemic. Well, I started it in April that has really been a treat for people, which is parallel play dates. So
Hmm.
you guys probably all the watchers probably know about parallel play, like when the kids are little and they're toddlers and they're not playing with other kids quite yet, but they're just like next to them, like looking
Hmm.
over, like what's that kid doing? And they're playing. Well, we have sort of a co-working session for that every week. There's 2 hours. We get on Zoom. I started off and I lead people through a guided meditation because I love the woo woo stuff. Like I
Yeah.
bring the woo woo to the table for sure, and we do a guided meditation, and then we have a writing prompt, and then everybody just does their thing. A lot of them are writing, but some are doing like knitting or during the summer gardening or whatever you're doing, and for that in that container. And then at the end we come back on the camera and say, "Oh, how did it go?" And we all share about our experiences, and people just love those. So that's been really
Yeah.
nice, and it gives people a taste of what it's like to kind of work with us with support for your writing or your creative
Yeah.
practice. So that's been cool. Percy loves this conversation.
Hey, I'm just amazed the kids haven't shown up, but
Right. Uh,
viewers might actually be disappointed because the kids do usually
we get
show
a
up.
cute cat this
There
time,
we
so
go. Yeah.
two cute
Um,
cats. You got one in the background.
yes, they do. Um, I think that's great. And I think that's such a nice virtual container for people. One of the things that I've been enjoying is that my local library, one of the women there set up an anti-racist book club
Oh, nice.
that meets for like 3 weeks, and then we have a week or two off, and then we'll meet again. And because of the pandemic, it automatically had to be virtual, which is the only way I could do it with a little person. Because I think it started back in June. Anyway, I'm not going out at night with a small person,
Yeah,
pandemic or not. Like I don't want to have to do that. And so that's been really fun to be able to talk to adults that are not my husband
yeah.
um,
And to
about
do
it.
some good work. I
Right,
mean, that's
about things
that's
that I feel
important.
are super, super
Yeah,
important. And then this
yeah,
this current session that we're in, we've actually had people from outside of the area who have joined us. So we've got someone in New York, and we've got someone in Connecticut, and probably a couple people in Massachusetts. And so that's been nice too, because it's been able to expand a little bit wider.
Yeah, I have a friend who was just telling me about like she's getting kind of Zoom fatigue. And I was like, well, one advantage I had is that I was doing a lot of stuff for my business on Zoom
Yep.
before the pandemic. So
Yep.
I'm kind of used to it. And I haven't really added like a lot of extra ones. I mean, I have this one women's group that meets usually at a UU church that's gone virtual, and
Yep.
I do attend that. And actually, we were able to have a couple of circles outside in the warm weather, which was
Hmm.
really nice to see everybody at a distance and have a circle. But mostly it's been virtual. But other than that, I haven't jumped into a lot of extra Zoom stuff because I do it for my work already. But if people are getting Zoom fatigue, I mean, you can take a break, you can,
Turn
not
your
do it for a
camera
bit.
off.
Yeah, turn the camera off, just listen. Or some people like to knit or crochet. I know you like knit while you're doing stuff
Hmm.
a lot of times.
Yep.
And that kind of just because my friend said I can't just sit there and like look at the screen because I get sort of like zoned out. It's like, do some knitting or doodling or, things that will keep your attention.
And I wonder if people who are getting Zoom fatigue, if they're taking that, if they're making sure that they're not then just going to another screen. Like, because I think of
Right.
Zoom as being screen time. So I'm kind
Yeah.
of like, if you're having Zoom fatigue, like, because sometimes my kids have too much screen time in this pandemic. It's like all the Girl Scout meetings are now on Zoom and things like that. And so I'm like, okay, we're done with screens. That includes the TV. That includes, your tablet or cell phone. Like you're done with screens for a while. Go
Yeah.
outside, go read a book, go build something,
Yeah.
take a break from the screens. And so I sometimes wonder if people had been doing jobs that weren't in front of their computer, because I think a lot of people who are working from home, I mean, like I know my husband was still in front of the computer, now all the meetings
But now
that
the
he'd
meetings
have
are
during the
taking.
day, he's not walking as much because he's in one space instead of walking two places and things. But the
Yeah.
being in front of the computer all day hasn't changed.
Mhm.
Maybe it's added an hour or two because maybe they would have been, but I'm pretty sure even in his meetings, he had his computer with him to take notes and stuff. Like I'm not,
Right.
so I sometimes think that people need to, if they're feeling screen fatigue or Zoom fatigue, they need to look at all their screens and make sure that they're unplugging from all of them, you know?
Yeah, we need that. We need that, like, not just get away from it for a little bit. Of course, my cats are now I have to let a cat in, so excuse me. Cat,
This is
there's
mommy
another
rebellion where
one.
anything can
Mommy,
happen at any
mommy
time.
cat, cat mommy.
Yep.
uh, cool.
Yep.
So, yeah, so I think things have been, weird but also doable. And I'm finding out that there are things that I was doing that just weren't that important. Like I wonder
Yeah.
if people can like things you were going out for and doing. It's like, yeah, I can do without that. And then other things that I do miss and can't wait to have back, like concerts.
Yeah.
Like so
I'm
it's interesting.
tempted, but I don't think I don't like to have schedules. That's the other thing. It can be hard for me to show up for virtual things sometimes. But I've noticed that people like Josh Groban are starting to do live stream concerts and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, and some of those look like they could be pretty cool. And the kids and I really enjoyed the plays that came out, like in the first British lockdown. There'd be plays out for a week and stuff, and we enjoyed getting, because I couldn't take them to that kind of stuff in a normal year.
Yeah.
Like when you multiply that by a family of seven, it's not going to happen. So I
Yeah.
appreciated being able to get to expose them to some of those things that wouldn't have otherwise happened. So yeah.
Yeah. So what are you guys doing like different for holidays that, like what's different about the holidays for you guys? Because
Um, a lot of things aren't different. Christmas
yeah.
tends to just be at home for us. We tend to talk to extended family on, a virtual way anyway, because
Mhm.
my closest family is Ohio, and then we're talking New Zealand and Australia, and places really far away. So that hasn't really changed. I usually sit down with the kids and we map out what we want to do in December. Sort of an Adventy type thing, but not exactly. And usually more experience based, like, are we going to go drive and see Christmas lights? And
Yeah.
I partially do it to find out what's really important to them this year, because it changes, like I thought that thing was super, super cool. And they're like, yeah, I don't want to do that again. And so that understandably is going to be a little bit different this year. One of the things that we loved doing last year that we did for the first time is we got to go make candy canes at a candy place.
Neat.
Actually not that far from where you are.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's not happening this year. We wouldn't be
Yeah.
going this year, even if it was, which is sad because everybody was like, we got to do that next year. Make sure it's on the list, Mom. Like, even my husband was like, yeah, let's do that again. Let's make candy canes again. Um, so just like this year, I've got some wreath things. And we've got some evergreens on our property. So I think, we're just going to take some time to go make some wreaths.
Nice.
Um, I pretty much got everything ordered that needs to be here for the holidays. And I've been kind of wrapping as things show up. And then like we've kind of switched so that the older girls are up later, but they're off in a separate room so that my husband and I can have a break. And so like last night they were wrapping some stuff for sisters.
Nice.
I don't know. I know, we're filming this before it's December. This will be coming out in December, but mentally I've kind of, after Halloween was done, I just kind of moved into, the winter holidays. And,
Yeah.
um, Thanksgiving's going to be quiet, but that's kind of the way we like it too. Um, and one of my friends that tends to have a big, like the first Sunday of Advent, she usually has a big open house. She's moving it virtual this year. Um,
Oh, neat.
and I know she's a little sad about that, but I think, you know, this way, like my mom, who's been to some of them because she was in town because I was having a baby, can come to it this year because it's virtual, so there's those options too, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be super excited to have my daughter and her husband here, at Christmas, and
Yeah.
they're pretty much living with us, so they're like part of the household. So that's exciting. And she and I have already talked about some of the things we want to do together that are like at home things, like making
Mhm.
candy. Like we usually make when she's been around, we make candy and watch silly like
Yeah.
Christmas shows
Yeah.
and stuff while we do it. And yeah, so there's that. And then what I think what'll be different is just figuring out what to do about the elders. Like for
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, they're gonna mom and dad and my aunt, who's very close with them, are gonna have their own little
Yeah.
meal, and then the others of us who are younger are gonna like gather at my house. So it'll be like split up from what it usually
Yeah.
is, but we're gonna
I heard
share,
some.
share food still. They're gonna bring a pie and drop it off, and we're gonna bring some,
Yeah.
breads and whatever. So we're still kind of
Yeah,
sharing.
I heard we were sharing some ideas the other day, and they were doing pie drops, and I think you could do this for Christmas too. Even
Yeah,
even the neighbors that have different political views than they do, they're still going to leave them a pie. And
nice.
then somebody else was really missing the elders, and so I can't remember if it was a sibling or a daughter, but they're doing these 12 days of Christmas package to send to the elder so that she'll have something to open each day,
Oh,
to,
nice.
to try and make up for the fact that they don't get together. Because I think this elder has had family with her whole life. So this idea of no one is just, so yeah, I think you can get creative in those ways. I'm going to be putting up on social media soon. Do you want a Christmas card this year? Like, send me your address because I think it'll be fun. I'm hoping maybe more people do that this year. And I
Yeah.
think that could be quite fun. But like my list needs to get updated anyway. So yeah, I'm going to do like a call out. If you want a Christmas card this year, because I've been encouraging my kids to, they haven't really gotten a lot of people to write back, but like if you're missing somebody, make them a card and send it to them, like it's
I like
fun.
that.
So
We make cards. We make our own
yeah.
cards. Actually, so we're getting creative with that. Usually we make cards together. So it's me and
Hmm.
Brent, my mom, and my aunt. We get together at mom's house.
Yeah.
She has all kinds of stuff. And
Yeah.
we've all contributed like into buying more like stamps or whatever. And so she keeps them there. She has a craft room and we get together and do that. So we can't really do that safely this year. So mom's making a to-go card making kit for each of us. And
Awesome.
so she already dropped pegs off to her. It's like, here's a tote, like a small tote with all the things you need to make, say 2 dozen cards or whatever. And then if you get through those and you want more, you can re-up and so because she's got all the supplies already.
Yep.
And so we're doing that. So that'll be fun to make cards. And
Yeah.
I'm in. Let's exchange cards for
Yeah.
sure.
It worked perfectly in the Girl Scout troop that I run, which are brownie levels. We had looked ahead at some of the badges that we knew we were going to do digitally, and then we had them pack their own take home boxes of the
Oh,
supplies that they
perfect.
needed.
Oh
And
yeah.
then literally the next week we went virtual.
Yep.
That was great. And so, like, the first thing all of the girls do when they show up is they're like, "Do we need to get our engineering boxes? Do we need those this meeting?" Like, which is so cute.
Nice. Nice.
But it's also been really helpful as a leader to know, okay, these are the things that I know for sure they have access to. Um, because you don't always know what. I mean, like glue and tape are nearly impossible to find in my house. I don't know. They're like pens, and there must be a troll or a black hole that comes and eats it. I don't know. They're never never to be found.
Yeah. Um,
Well, this has been a great conversation. Where can people find you if like they might want some help with their writing? You do
I
amazing with that. Or if they're interested in joining parallel play.
It's all at my website. So it's nikkistarcatshields.com. And also, I have a blog, which is you can find there as well. It's more of a personal blog about, I'm a bookworm, so it's books I love to read and projects and things. So if you're interested in anything about creativity, come and check it out.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome.